Welcome, class. I had a question about the benchmark, so I thought I would make a short video. You already have a video on it, which gives you the outline, the basics. There's video embedded in the Excel, and then this one that'll help maybe put some stuff together. So let me share my screen here, and we'll start here. Jump around a bit. Okay. So this is the question. This is analyzing the results. Question one, explain with examples what roles APR, minimum percentage payment, and the minimum fixed payment play in the amount required to pay back a credit card. And provide examples showing how changes in one of these parameters affects the amount of interest paid. Now, and I'm going to kind of group these two questions together as I explain this. So the question two says, given the APR provided in your Excel sheet, at what minimum percentage payment would you never make any progress in paying down the bill? And that is, look for when the new balance will equal the old balance each month. There's a little math to do. And what happens if the minimum percentage payment falls below this percentage? So that's interesting to discuss also. And do any of the credit cards have such minimum payments? This is going to correspond to what you did in the second tab, which is what we're going to go to really answer the bulk of these. But this particular piece is going to depend on what you found when you did your research. Again, I had you guys check 2 credit card companies and 2 credit cards specifically, and how they figure minimum payments. So this would be interesting for that. So for that part of the write-up. So let me open up the Excel and let me go share that. Share this right now. So, okay, I believe as you're now seeing, double check. Yes, you're seeing the Excel. Great. Let's go back to that. Okay. So this is page 2. So I did go in here and do page 1 real quick, just do it together. And you guys will have done that. You'll have followed the video here. And in there, he talks about the whole thing. So he talks about not just this and these results, but he also talks about coming here and some manipulation that can happen and just playing around. So this is kind of where the APR here, what role that plays, you could play with that, change that a little bit, add some. There's some examples. There are definitely some examples in here. So you could affect the APR. And how does that affect the interest paid, the total amount paid, how long it takes? Maybe you look at the minimum percentage of your payment, maybe increasing it, maybe decreasing it, and say, okay, well, what does that affect? How much do I pay? How long do I pay it? How much of it is interest? In this case, from my example, from the example that it was given to me, I had 18% APR, $2,225. But the minimum payment was figured at 3.5%, with $30 being the, if it got below that, right? So the idea here is to say, okay, at what point, so those are, you can change these and manipulate these, and then you're going to talk about it. You're going to, and this is actually not the Excel work. This is, you're going to use the Excel to do the calculation, but you're going to talk about it in the write-up. So this is where you're reflecting on what you noticed. So you're going to talk about, oh, APR affects the amount required to pay back the credit card by, and that's this line here. It's this line right here. That's that line. That's the amount required to pay back the credit card. And it affects that. And you're going to talk about how it affects it. A greater one does this, a lesser one does this. You're also, and you're going to list your examples. You're going to list those examples from what you found. Then you're going to say, okay, what about the minimum percentage of the payment? Well, that's right here. You're going to adjust that, go up, down, and talk about how that affects this. And then you're going to talk about the minimum fixed payment. So that's this $30. How does that affect this? And that's what you're really doing. And then you're going to talk about how if you change one of those, how it affects the interest paid. So that's this line. Again, how each one of those, so the APR, the minimum balance percentage, and then the minimum payment, fixed payment, affect the interest paid and how those changes affect that. So you're going to talk about that. The other thing that I think a lot of students, and I've had some questions on this, so is how do I find what the minimum percentage payment would be so I actually never paid off the credit card, which is not what you want. You may have found when you plugged in your numbers from your example that you researched. My hope is you do come here and plug them in and say, oh, look, I'm actually never going to pay it off. But a way to do that, to check it, is by coming up here to your payment, your percentage. And right now I'm at 3.5. And so I'm going to go, let's go down to 2. And then I'll kind of show you what I'm looking at. So I'm going to go to 2, kind of cut that in half. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is this is the interest. And this interest is applied to what's here after I make this payment. What I really want to have happen here, I want to adjust that so this payment and this interest match. You'll notice, though, that as I lower this, it's costing me more money. More of it is interest. Genuinely, this is more than the original balance, right? My original balance, $2,225. My interest that I pay over the 13, almost 14 years is $3,216. So substantially, that's about $1,000 more than my interest right now, or then more than the original starting balance. But that's still not quite the same. And as you adjust this, this is going to go up. Your interest here is going to go up because you'll have made less of a payment. So there'll be more money here. But there'll come a point where these are really, really close. So let's go to 1.5. Let's try 1.5. Now, these are my numbers. Your numbers will be different. It'll depend both on your APR and your initial starting balance. And then, of course, this value here. Let's see what that does. 1.5, 1.5. Oh, and if you ever get these, all that means is this cell isn't wide enough. And you can see that as I hover, it's, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. So I'm going to go here. And what I do is I click on this, and I can just drag it over just a hair. And there we go. So this, and this is really close, 32.87, 33.38. So I'm still paying a little bit more than that interest. So I need to go a little bit lower. But you'll notice that originally it was $2,000, a little bit over $2,000. My total to pay it off in over 41 years is $15,000, over $15,000. My interest that I'm paying is over $13,000. So this minimum balance going down is really meaning I pay longer, I pay more, and I pay a lot more in interest. But I'm pretty close. Let's try 1.2. Let's try 1.2. Ooh, that's too little. You'll notice that it kicked in that it was going to be less than $30. So it actually converted to that $30. So I don't quite want that low, but I was getting there. So let's go to 1.4. Let's try 1.4. And this you have to dial in. And I don't want you to think it's going to be quite dialed in even there. So again, that's not quite it. I need to be a little bit more. But I saw that 1.5 was a little bit too much. So let's say 1.45. 1.45. And We're still a little bit shy. And I'm just kind of going up, kind of splitting the difference. I knew that 1.4 was too low, 1.5 was too high. So I went with 1.45. Now that's still a little bit low. I'm going to go 1.47. See how close that is. Still a little shy, maybe 1.48. Let's see, 1.48. Oh, and that's a little bit much. Okay, so it's 1.47 something. 1.475. Just split it. Let's see where that gives me. Oh, just a little bit shy. Again, I'm looking at my payment, 32.82. It's a little bit less than the 32.88. So, oh, and I can make this bigger also, so I can see what I'm plugging in and add some decimal places here. I want to see everything that I'm plugging in. Let's add a few. I don't think we'll have to plug it into that far, but let's I mean, maybe let's see how it goes. All right, so this is a little shy. So that was at 475. Let's do 477. Sure. 1.477. Still a little shy. Let's do 1.478. 1.478. It's a little much, actually. We'll actually get it paid off. So it's a little bit much. All right, so we'll do 1.4775. Splitting that. That's a little shy. Okay. 1 point. But you'll notice how close that is to being exactly right. So 1.4776. Ooh, look at that. So now my payment matches my interest. So this is pretty close to right. It's something after that, so it's even smaller because I notice that my current balance is still growing. Yes, rounding this, it comes out to be the same amount, but it's really close. And then somewhere down here, we're going to see it go up. We're going to see it change a little bit. Wow, it's pretty far down there. Years down there. Here it is. It happened. I went too far. Here's where it happened. At 42 months. So what is that? 3 years, about 3.5 years approximately. There was enough in there that I'm actually going deeper in debt. But this would be good enough to put in there. You could put, the question is, at what minimum percentage payment would you never make any progress? And technically for me, it would be at 1.4776, which is that's very detailed. It means my payments are pretty much equaling my interest, and I'm really not going to get this paid off. Number of years to pay off, it says 41 and 2/3 years. I think it'll still show me owing all the way down here. Yeah, it stops at 41 and 2/3 because that is what approximately just less than 500 months is. Sorry about that. So this would be the answer. For mine, again, it would be different for each person, dependent upon your starting balance, dependent upon your APR. It'll be different. It won't be the same idea, but the concept will be the same. So then the question asks, going back to the question, let me share that again. Back to screen. So again, this is where, as I said, this is where you would move those around and answer these questions right here. And this is written. You're typing this up. This is a, you know, each one of those is probably a sentence on APR, a sentence on minimum percentage payment, a sentence on minimum fixed. If you do a good sentence with examples in there, that works. Then you provide examples showing how it affects the interest paid. Again, another set of at least 3 sentences. So that's a little paragraph in here, right? This question 1, I expect a paragraph answer. Question 2, given the APR provided, at what minimum percentage rate would you never make any progress paying down the bill? So that would happen. You would make no progress paying down the bill at a percentage rate of, in my case, 1.4776%. And so then if the minimum payment happens to fall below this percentage, so just one lower, what did we notice? Each time we fell below that percentage, it starts growing. We're not actually paying anything. And even though this is below slightly, it's growing. You're not making any progress. If it falls low enough below it, in my case, about $2 lower, it triggers the maximum payment, which will then help make the payments. But you may not pay that off, even with the maximum payment. So that's what you're supposed to do. These are going to be things you write. Do any credit cards have such minimum repayments? These are where you did some research and you found some. So you're going to talk about that all in this next piece right here. And then this is a piece on how using these ideas can help you determine making your future decisions on a choice of credit card. What do you look at now when you look at credit cards? My hope is you're not just taking the first credit card that you can apply for, because that usually is the credit card that is the worst for you. In fact, that is always the one that's the worst for you. Also, you may definitely, credit cards, most people think Visa, MasterCard, etc. But remember, stores have store credit cards, right? Like you could go buy something from Target and there's a Target credit card. There's a Best Buy credit card. There's a pretty much any store like those have their own credit cards. Probably not a good idea. Store credit cards are the worst. They are genuinely horrible for you. And I know there's all these incentives and stuff like that because genuinely they're that bad. They need those incentives to get people to sign up for them. Once you get far enough along, you'll find that you rarely want one of those. Like I can't think of a time that that's ever been a productive use of your finances. So that is what it is. All right, you guys, I hope this helps. And I'll get this uploaded right away. All right. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.